Oh,
Skål!
yeah. This is a big show on beer.
And there's
Of
a
course,
beer.
what's better than having your favorite snack? In this case, these little pretzel twists.
Yummy.
And beer.
Okay. Good for you, Bubba.
So yeah, I got some of our beer collection out here. Excuse me. I want to share with you about. Before that, oh, look at this. This is this wonderful zero alcohol beer. We're going to get into that. You can see the hops right on there. I'm going to talk about beer. We're going to talk about beer steins, beer glasses, beer coasters, the history of beer. Look at these guys back here. This is a Brewers Guild 1830 in Belgium. And it says dedicated to the brewers, the merchants of beer, the sellers of beer, and all the world. So yeah, wrote out a collection, our beer collection for you. And we're going to have a look at this slideshow in just a second. But first, a couple more snacks. Some more. All right, let's on with the show. So, beer, one of the oldest human-produced drinks, written history, ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, honoring a 3,000-year-old Sumerian poem honored Ninkasi, the patron goddess of brewing. You can see a interpretation of her here. Look at all the different brews. And I'm just going to get a pointer here. Look at all the different brews and the different glasses that they come with, which features them differently. It gives you the composition. So the earliest record of humans brewing has been discovered in Shari Sukte out in the far eastern part of Iran, where actually I served in the Peace Corps. And I visited this archaeological site many times but I don't think that they had discovered that the earliest residues of evidence of beer drinking and beer brewing was found in this tomb. This was after the years that I left. But this is significance. I was there. This was one of the largest Bronze Age cities in the world at the time. And this is history of brewing. Chemical tests of ancient pottery found in western Iran, in the Zagros Mountains. You can see them here. They showed evidence of barley beer, earliest evidence of it brewed there, and evidence it was in a jug, some 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. Liquid bread in ancient Mesopotamia and that part of Iran, the first civilizations, first cities in Egypt, early beer was thick and porridge-like, made from fermented barley, bread, and dates. You can see a model of one of their breweries and bakeries. Provided heavy nutrition and calories, earning the nickname liquid bread. And the currency and wages of the people who built the pyramids, the laborers in ancient Egypt, were frequently paid for or sustained by beer. And so this is slightly scandalous representation of that. And yeah, here, so the Sumerians worshipped this goddess of beer named Ninkasi, honoring her with hymns that doubled as brewing recipes. You can see this is a cuneiform, one of the earliest forms of writing. 4,000 years ago, had a recipe for beer. And this brewery in Oregon is called Ninkasi Brewery, after this ancient goddess of beer. So it was a safe hydration because the water was not safe in lots of parts of the world, and so beer was boiled during production. It served as a safe, germ-free alternative to drink. Christian monasteries became the main centers for large-scale brewing in Europe, producing beer to feed local communities and fund their operations and host travelers. And some of the greatest beer experiences I had in living in Belgium was in these monasteries, these Trappist monasteries and their breweries. So yeah, beer is not complicated. It's water, 95% of it is water. Malt from grains, mostly barley, which of course barley was one of the earliest domesticated grains in the Persian lands in West Asia. Hops add bitterness to balance and sweetness of malt, bring the aroma and flavor, and of course yeast. So all of this is what makes the endless variety of beers, because of course you can add flavoring to it, as many places have. As a trade in medieval Europe, ale brewing offered women a relatively lucrative and stable career. They could stay at home, and female brewers, known as alewives, generally found stable work in the trade, particularly when compared with the contemporary other female trades. And you can see there they had this. Many of them had this pointed hat, and they had a broom sticking out of their settlement or where their little brew house, which indicated that there was beer available. By the way, National Drink Beer Day, September 28th. So gotta mark that on your calendars, coming up. So women's role in the early medieval beer production was important. And then cooking with beer. Here's 65 recipes made with your favorite beers. Beer batter, for instance, light, airy, and crispy coating made for whisking flour or seasonings and carbonated beer together. Especially good for flaky whitefish, cod and haddock, shrimp, onion rings, cheese curds, all of this with beer batter. And here's an explanation of light pilsners and lagers were good for steaming mussels, light chicken, wheat beers were good for marinades and seafood dishes, amber and brown ales perfect for deglazing roasting pans, pulled pork and hearty chilies, and porters and stouts for long simmering beef stews, pot roasts, and chocolate cakes. Wow, yeah, porters and stout in your chocolate cake. That sounds good. Here's some other dishes around the world that feature beer. Upper left is this Danish porridge dish. You got beer soup here, pub cheese. Down here is borracho beans, drunken beans, or frijoles borrachos, traditional dish of both Mexican and southern Texas cuisines. Flemish stew, carbonade flammade had many of this dish when I lived in Belgium. There's beer cake, how about that? And beer bread. So beer festivals, big deal around the world. You got the Great American Beer Festival in Denver. Look at the size of the crowds there. This one's probably the largest. This one is in China. China is the largest brewing nation and the largest beer consuming nation in the world. Of course, you have this Germans are a huge consumer of beers and have these big festivals. Oktoberfest is one of the most famous. And over here in Brussels, down in the Grand Place, they have a big Taste of Belgian Beer Festival as well. How much beer do people drink around the world? Yeah, the Czech Republic, Czechia, I think it's now called. I think leads the world in per capita consumption. You can see some of these other numbers here. The Chinese are, yeah, 127. Brazil, look at that. The U.S. is 282. You can, by the way, pause all of these slides to get more of get more of the information. Here's the globe's most beloved beers in country: Heineken, Budweiser. Look at this, Corona, of course, down in Mexico. Stella Artois, Belgium. These are big global brands. And you can see some of those. The Australia, Beck's beer in Germany. Tsingtao, China, Carlsbad, of course. And here's another look at the different beer brands and where they're sold. And you can see Guinness and Heineken, Budweiser, and these others are global brands. So arrested fermentation started in the 1970s. The brewers stopped yeast fermentation early to keep alcohol low. The resulting taste was often bland or sweet. O'Doul's was one of the companies that was experimenting and got the name for this. Now the modern techniques, vacuum distillation, gently removes the alcohol without messing with the distinctive flavors of the hops and malt, and so you have products like this, which are just so delicious. They have the whole beer experience, the beer taste, but the no alcohol. By the way, research says that 57% of people would stay longer at a bar if it were serving more non-alcoholic brands, and 87% of non-alcoholic sales are this, and 22% growth rate in non-alcoholic beers. So the 14th century, the plague introduced the concept of steins with a cover on them, because the insects and dirt and all sorts of crud could not get in the drink and make people sick. So this is how the hinged lid on these steins came, and then early versions were made of pewter and earthenware, and then they found that they could also make them durable stoneware. And then industrial advancements, mass production, turned steins into detailed works of art, and as people are now collecting them, we have a few of them here we'll show you. But isn't that something? This all started as a to help people stay healthy and drink beer during the bubonic plague. Then this is, look, the dimple beer mug, often called a dimpled stein, is developed. It's a big heavy glass beer mug, but these dimples that they would put into the glassmakers would put in the glass would make it less heavy, and also give the beer a nice color and reflection, and the light up beautifully through the amber liquid, so that it would enhance the beer experience. Also, the sturdy side handle prevents your body heat from warming up the frosty brew. Heavy-duty bases and walls offer extreme durability, making them ideal for heavy clinking and toasting. And the wide rim helps showcase the malt aromatics and balanced foam. So look at all that. So that gave rise to the coasters, the drip pads as they're known, because these heavy steins and things would sometimes mar, or you can be concerned about marring the surface of where you would be drinking them. So coasters or drip pads came into their own 19th century German beer gardens, and then the innovation came way to these beer companies realized that these were neat little souvenir and advertising items, and so this whole thing came about. Look at this. Here's somebody's got a huge collection of these coasters, beer coasters. We only have just a few here that we can show you in a minute. Then the shape of glasses, beer glasses, is important in Europe, especially because the different qualities, the flavors, the alcoholic content, all of that, the color, all of that was important to the brewers and to the drinkers. And so these shapes all have a value, they all have a purpose, and they're a wonderful item to collect. And then people have been collecting beer bottles. You can see some of these enormous collections, and the beer bottle collectors and Brewiana collectors of all sorts are a great and interesting group on the internet, and they have swap meets and sales, and you see they're very popular. Hand-blown glass bottles emerged in the late 16th century, passed through a number of processes. By the late 16th, stronger glass-made bottled beer, and then of course the green and the brown preserves the liquid from light and all that. Beerbottlecollector.com, check it out. And then if you have beer bottles, of course you're going to have beer openers, and this is the guy William Painter in Baltimore invented the cap. Well, yeah, if you're going to have a bottle, you're going to have a cap. So initially there were corks, and that didn't work at all. So he came up with this crimped crown cork that would go on there, and it had a little cork seal on the bottom of it. So he completely changed the way a bottle of beer could be produced and marketed and saved, preserved, and then that led to needing to have beer bottle cap openers, and there's all sorts of shapes and sizes, and that is something that people collect as well, and we have a few to show you here. So yeah, beer caps is another wonderful collection, and again, it's another way to advertise the beer. Early seals, there were cork stoppers, but they didn't work, so we just talked about the invention of the crown cap with those little ridges. So then beer cans came along. So what's better, a beer bottle to protect the beer or a beer can? And as it turns out that beer cans are superior for protecting the beer quality because they block 100% of the damaging ultraviolet light. They create an airtight seal that stops oxygen, while glass bottles offer a traditional feel and suit long-term aging. Cans chill faster, weigh less, and prevent skunking. So here's Richard Beacon. He owns about 10 to 12,000 beer cans. He's got them in his garage. You can see that. Here's why shape matters. Look at these different shapes, glasses and steins. The rim and bowl design trap and channel volatile compounds towards your nose, which makes up a large part of how we taste. That it retains that wonderful foamy head, carbonation control, palate delivery, temperature regulation, and tradition and portion control. So all of these are factors in the brewers brewing specific beers and then having them featured and appreciated in different shapes of the receptacle that they're served in. Here's a woman looking at a display in the Belgian beer world in Brussels, Belgium, an interactive, immersive experience. And you can see that the different beer brands of Belgium, and then the glass that goes appropriate with that. So this is here's more about the original Belgian beer experience, divided into 6 multimedia zones, each with separate beer theme, and there's tastings all along. You can experience the whole history of beer culture, the influence of Belgian beer around the world. You can also have all these interactions with multi-sensory workshops and talk to the brewers The beer wall, the glasses, we just showed that, and on top of this is the Sky Bar rooftop terrace. This is all in historic Brussels Bourse, or the stock exchange, which has not been used for many years, and so they've repurposed this historic building right down in the center of the city. So these whole thing of microbrews and I'm losing the term here, shows lots of fun in the titles and in the images. You can see some of these. These are hundreds of microbrews around the country, around the world now. Happy Ending, Weapon of Mass Destruction, Purple Monkey Dishwasher, We're Gonna Need a Bigger Cucumber. All of these. Beer quotes. Ben Franklin supposedly said, "Beer is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy." He was actually referencing rain, which pours down and develops the vines that change into wine, and so it's constant proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. But lots of wonderful quotes. The best beers are the ones we share with friends. And then you've got Homer Simpson, his relationship with beer, definitely comedic anchor of The Simpsons. And I'm going to show you our Homer Simpson doll here in a minute. Without question, the greatest invention in the history of mankind is beer. The wheel does not go nearly as well. The wheel does not go nearly as well with pizza. Dave Barry. Beer, the cause of and the solution to all of life's problems. Homer Simpson. Excuse me. So there's lots of historians. Beer has just brought out the best in researchers. This is one of the great food and beverage websites that I have seen. Beer Studies, the world history of it. And I recommend you visiting this if you'd like to learn much more about beer. Here's just the index of the subjects that they cover. And there you can see the website is beerstudies.com. If you want to know more, lots of books, all sorts of books. The botany of beer, look at that. Goodnight Brew, some good fun things. The Anchor Brewing stories about the history of various beer companies. And that is that for show. Here's an old postcard from Germany. And look at this guy. Here are some of the things we've been talking about. Here's Homer Simpson. He's not working, I'm not sure, but if you push something, he does all his praise of beer. Look at this little soft stein of beer mug. Here's some of those openers. We don't have much of a group, but look at this. This game used bat from the Tampa Bay Rays. They took an old bat, made a souvenir out of it. My students gave that to me. Here's some of these beer cups we talked about. The coasters, so, some of the beer glasses, different sizes. These are mostly from Belgium. Here's one of those steins, remember we talked about. So nothing could get in there. This was the whole all seasons of beer making. Oh, look at this. Santa Fe Brewing Company. This is a craft beer, the original craft beer of Belgium. All different flavors you can get. This beer is what? Brewed with apricots. Here's these tin signs or something that lots of people collect too, advertising signs. This one's from the 50s, South London Brewery. The Belgian beer is so popular that this company, New Belgian Brewing Company, is in Colorado with these great posters. Here's that engraving I talked about, 1830, which was honoring the brewers, the beer merchants, the bars and all the world. These are different guild members from different parts of Belgium. They all got together, enjoying their favorite brew. It's one of my favorite things that we have. Here's this, another favorite thing. Look at this beer stein. Shape of corn. It's got two little faces here. There's one there. Yeah, and books. The World Guide to Beer. This is like 1980 or 90. So, you know, talking about wouldn't have beer without hops, right? Here's the brewery design. But what's special about this, but it's probably very outdated, is the different brands of beer, and then different countries. The Netherlands, and there's good maps in here, images. So great book if you like maps, if you like beer, if you like beer memorabilia, history. That's all here for you. Although I think this should be updated because there's certainly a lot has happened in 40 years. And look at this. This is fun. This is the Oktoberfest Fest Feast. It's in one of the. It's one of those bubble mugs, and this is all the foods that go with the Oktoberfest and the whole tradition. Lots of recipes and the history of it all. Beer magazines, specials, Sports Illustrated, specials, why beer, how it influences the game we watch and play. Here's Travels with Barley, a journey through beer culture across America. This probably is a little dated too, but a good read. Turned up the other day. A lot of this, you know, all of this was required before the internet, before you had, so I, you know, wrote letters to get information, to get objects. Here's a letter I wrote and I received from the Belgian embassy. I was asking them for a copy of this beer magazine that I learned about, that they sent it, and then they sent me, I wanted a list of beers in Belgium, brewers. Again, this is all before the internet, so we had to do everything by mail. So he sent me all the list of these breweries in Belgium and all, because I was working on a book about the time. So yeah, beer, big subject, big fun subject. Glad you're with us on this. If you like these shows, by the way, you can subscribe. It's free on the on YouTube. You can tell your friends about us. You can leave us messages. We're always happy to hear from you. We're doing these shows. We've done a couple 300 different topics from our collections. We're pulling these things out of deep storage. I'm getting to enjoy to see my collections again, and then putting them back into storage, storing them properly, and we hope that we will find a home for all of our collections, and all of these things can be done up into proper exhibits as a food museum. Right now we're operating as the Global Food Heritage Center, and we are enjoying sharing what we have. So enjoy your beers, alcoholic or not, and we'll see you next time.